Hey, it's Sean here from Vendetta, and I'm working on my Oculus Quest game for the November Game Jam. Today is day 2, and today is about design. So I'm starting a bit late because I had to go to work, and also the Flemington Horse Racing Cup is happening right now, and I live in Flemington, so it makes travel really difficult, and there's helicopters around everywhere. And I almost had a car accident as well, so I hate driving. So today, I'm starting late, but I'm going to do the full 8 hours, and it's all about design, and so I haven't started yet, but what I'm planning to do is rough categories that I've thought of is that I've got to figure out the level, the player actions, the objectives, the art, the overall game logic, and the objects around the player as well. So that's kind of objectives. On a side note, what I'm going to do with this video series is that this is now just my daily vlog. I'm Sean. I'm creating a new studio called Vendetta, and part of the content for the YouTube channel will just be me and what I'm working on. And so that lets me branch out a little bit. Even though the main focus is the Game Jam this month, I'm going to be mentioning a few other things as well. I shared my my summoning, my blobby VR, my VR quest game where you have a blobby weapon that can transform into other weapons. And someone told me it's similar to a game from 1989 on the NES called A Boy and His Blob. And then I looked it up, and there was also a Wii game, and the idea with this game is that he has this little white blobby friend that can transform into a ladder, a bubble, a rocket, a trampoline, like heaps of different things, mostly around movement. But there are some sort of weapon things like an anvil, which was cool to see, an umbrella. So very, very, very similar ideas. Anime style, very, very similar to Professor Layton on the the DS, a minimal kind of anime style, and just the fact that some of the blobby transforms things that it can morph into were identical to what I was planning. It's like I'm just so happy that it exists already. And if I have to describe the feeling of transforming your blobby friend, this game does it the best. So I'm really happy to have found that. When I was in the car, I was listening to the radio, and Saturday radio is always about sport. And they were talking about sport equipment and the most heavy or annoying sport equipment. And there was rowing and kayaking and air gliding and lacrosse and various other equipment that they lug around. And I thought, I think of virtual reality as being, it's like you can move your body and you can be in virtual reality at the same time, and so that it sort of unlocks a new type of sport. And if you say that the equipment's too expensive because it's $600, well, people are spending that on sporting goods anyway. Also thought about, they were talking about things like dragon boating and other rare sort of lesser known sports, and made me think that there is so many different types of activities out there that people get together because they love doing it. It's not just because it's not football that it doesn't exist or it's not worth doing. So when I position my game as a VR sport, it's accepting that it's not for everyone, but there may be a very passionate group of people out there who enjoy it. And then I was in the car a long time, so I was listening to the radio station a lot, and they were still talking about sport, about women's soccer, and the emergence of women's football around 1920 in England. And and then they mentioned how women's football went out of fashion for about 20 to 40 years, and then women start doing things more like women's basketball, which is now known as netball, hockey, and it just made me think about how sport changes, the things that we do change, and that it's not fixed at all. We may feel like that it's fixed now because we've had the same sports for the last 50 years, but really, I'm really interested in what virtual reality can unlock, what kind of new activities we can do that are just so exciting now that we have virtual reality in front of our eyes. All right, so I'm going to get started for today, and I'll see you soon. Hey, it's actually morning of day 3. Yesterday I dedicated the whole day to designing, and I kind of I got fixated because I'm treating this game. I was treating this game jam as a starting off point for a project that I've been thinking about for a long time. I think that's like a really bad thing to do because I'm now I was fixated on a design problem that I'm thinking not just for this game jam, but what I want to do next. And it's actually turning out to be a bigger problem than I thought. It makes me think of what I read in that Creativity Inc. book. They said that it's better to try quickly and fail quickly because you might eventually find something that works, rather than work forever on something that you want to be perfect because it may not work. And I guess that was encapsulated in my day yesterday, because I was trying to figure out how can you do weapon-based combat without too many, with like sort of like balls moving around in the middle of two opponents, and I haven't figured it out yet. So I guess that's a project, even though it's the thing that I ultimately want to figure out, because as a player it would feel cool. I just can't figure out how to make it so that it would work in terms of networking and balance. But that's way beyond the scope of a 7 to 20 day game jam. So I don't officially have a design yet. I have only just thought about going. I thought about a few older ideas that have some overlap with the themes that I'm interested in. One idea is that you're inside a dragon's mouth and you've got various tools that you have to clean the dragon's teeth. Very good for room scale. Very good in that you can have one core loop and you can add on a couple other things. That the reason that overlaps with my idea is because it means that you have a tool that you can use. A tool could have a personality, basically. Another idea is that there's like a planet floating in the middle of your play space, and you just have to place like turrets or ships around the planet, and then it's like a tower defense, but in 3 dimensions, so that you then have like a portal open up over here near your planet, and it shows the path that the enemy will take to attack the planet, and then you would set up your towers to like do explosions or lasers. But generally, as a theme, I'm not that interested in space, so I won't do that one. So what I've decided to do is to do more like, instead of like a 1v1 very tight combat scenario, I'm instead going for a game where you collect balls in your play space, or just you can collect any ball, right? And then once you have your collection, you can stretch your hands out, and it stretches those balls in a line. So you could do up or like that or like that. And when you release, it moves forward in the direction that you're looking, or a mathematical sort of like make a decision between where you're looking and where the alignment of your balls are, so that it makes sense and intuitive. And then the scenario is that there are like enemies spawning in the distance. They move towards you, and they release one ball each. And your idea is that you have to make your ball hit their ball so that you block them, right? And then you also have to do another one or something. Yeah, I still haven't done the design yet. Like, I'm behind. I'm a day behind. So it's day 3, and I'm already a day behind, and I skipped day 2's video, so I'm not off to a good start, eh? I guess I will. I went into yesterday with good intentions, and then I got off to a really good start with like what the player feels and experiences up to the point where they start gameplay, and then I was just erasing ideas constantly because nothing seemed to be working, and I guess it's just a nut that's too hard to crack. I probably need time to prototype combat again and again and again, and a game jam where I'm committing to delivering at day 14 is not really the time to do that. So yeah, I'll do it another time. And so today is my design day 2, and I'm actually going to get a real design done this day. So I hope, well, I promise by the end of today I'll upload it as day 2 and 3, and you'll see what my game will be. Okay, so sort of in the latter part of my day, and what I did was I sketched like a basic 1v1 kind of like a tennis sort of scenario with basketball hoops, and then I just came in here and I started sketching it out in Unity because I was at a dead end. I wanted to design combat, but I get a lot of inspiration out of actually seeing things move and knowing what data is available to me. Like, do I have velocity or position? And so even though I had, so then I could figure out, is it cool to punch a ball, right? And then what other ways could you punch a ball, basically? And so that's what I decided to start doing. I set up all my components so that at the very beginning it was very clean and compartmentalized. I can show you that I had it so that when a goal receives a score event, when that event is triggered, the scoreboard at the beginning of the game, it's registered to listen to that goal, and then it will get updated, and that score will get updated every time the goal event is triggered. That's one example that I set up early, so now I've got that ready. Then I got the VR avatar in, and basically just got the triggers in there. And then I've got the team set up, and I put balls in there, and I put one ball in, and then for about an hour or two I was experimenting what's it like to, without pressing any trigger, to punch, so that it recognizes velocity of your hand at a certain point, a certain magnitude. It will turn on. Now it's called a strike. And so the strike then registers at certain points and creates entities, like not really entities technically, but those points are recognized. And then if you slow down, or if your punch is too long in time, then the strike is finished. Now, what that means is that it's creating the entities as you moving. And so I had these blobs, these circles forming out of your hand. Then I added an extra variable, which is the when you are punching and it's recognized that you're going fast enough to punch. Now what I can do is I know the position, and I can then create an object. And then I had choices about how will that object move. Will it strictly follow the direction of your hand, or will it do some sort of based on where your head is, so that it always is moving forward, or from the origin of where your elbow would be in the direction of your hand, in that direction, or in the direction of your controller. Like, there's so many choices, and I may come back to it, but right now what I've got is when you punch, it what have I got currently? It basically uses where your head is pointing. So if you punch that way, it will still go in front of you. That lets you sort of do like a swipe motion. So you can do like this, and the objects that you spawn will still move forward. So it feels like an attack, instead of moving sideways, the direction that you're swiping, because that's not really useful in a game. And also meant like things like if you were bringing your controller back, if I didn't have that head direction in there, then you would be constantly like throwing things behind you. So that's what I've got, and then I did factor in a little bit about the real direction of your punch, so that there's a variable I can change, so that I can mix it up. So my controllers, they're running low, and that's a good time for me to go cook dinner. What I'll show you right now is ball chaos. So what I've made it, an idea I had while I was doing this, punching a ball, the punch created a thing called a strike, all right? And one strike is like a ball, but it's not real yet. It's just a short-lived thing that you create, and it's like a force, right? In a place and time that's visible. So it's like a strike energy force, and it will disappear. So you do this, like the energy wave. And then I thought, well, it's cool to use the energy wave to hit a ball. And it was, except that because of the ball, you can't control where it is. I mean, your enemy has placed it, like could be over here, and then you want to like strike at it, and you generally want your attack to go that way, but because the ball's there, you're forced to like strike in that direction, and it goes somewhere where you don't want it. So what I decided was to think about, what if, as long as if I now group the strike elements into one strike group, right? As long as your strike group hits a ball, the whole group converts to a ball. And so it may not be optimal, because the enemy may have done a whole strike of 5 balls, and if you only hit 2 of them, sure, you're going to activate your whole strike, but the other 3 balls from the enemy is going to continue. So in a way, this might be a win-win. It creates a strategic element where you got to make sure you hit all 5 balls of your enemy. But at the same time, if you really want to control your own strike direction and where it's going to go, then maneuvering yourself to do both at the same time. It may be impossible. Okay, so what I'm going to show you right now is the current state. It is a quickly escalating ball mayhem because the balls currently do, when they hit the boundary, they just come back at the enemy player. So you're going to see balls flying around everywhere. And remember my loop there. You only need to hit one ball, but from that you can create many. And so there's not currently any sync for those balls to delete them, apart from the one that you hit. And that means that continually we'll be adding balls to the arena. I'll show you what it looks like, and then I'm going to stop for dinner. Testing. Testing. Okay, so this should be... Alright, I'm on my Vive microphone now, and I'm going to hit play. So the ball is neutral right now. Can you see on the screen? Yeah. Alright, so the red ball is coming at me, and if I just do one punch, that was a single strike element, so it only created one ball. But there we go, I had two strike elements that created strike. I'd do a big one that created like 7 strike elements, so now I have a lot more balls. And so you can see how that quickly escalates, that I can create strikes just by connecting with one ball. And the strikes are pretty cool. I might turn off all balls so you can see the strike arrows. So it's just gone crazy. What I'll do is show you the strike. I'll just hide the balls for now, and then you can see how I've done the strike elements. Can you see? Okay, yeah, you can see that just. So you can see now that I can punch, and it creates some short-lived arrows in front of me. And then I can do like a swipe. This is all without any trigger. And the goal when I was trying to get my vectors all sorted out is that I wanted to feel like you could swing like a sword if you wanted to, but you could also punch. That's what I wanted. I wanted you to be able to punch in a direction and also swing, and create an arc that moves forward. And so I think I've done it. It feels very similar to like Harry Potter, and with a bit of styling on the strike as well as the balls. Should be quite cool. Okay, so I'm going to stop for dinner. By the end of the day, I think I'll have something really, really cool to show. Okay, here I am at the end of day 3. I've done 2 totally different types of control schemes, but mostly revolving around balls and magical ways of moving them. You'll see here that I've set up a like an arena with a scoreboard, and there's a goal there, and then there are these neutral balls spawning, and sometimes there'll also be an extra ball spawning. So I'm going to show you the type of attack that I've created, and then I'll explain how I did it. Hey, I've been smacking my controllers around all day. Alright, so what can you see? You can see this thing here moving around in front of me. This is like a cursor, and you can see how it stretches out from my hand. And then what I can do is when I pull the trigger, I'll just get my wristbands on. When I pull the trigger, I can create this channel there, you see? And then what it does is it creates a spline between my hand, a midpoint, and then that cursor out in the distance. So that then lets me, I've changed some settings. Anyway, what it lets me do is hit that ball and make it curve where I want it to go. So you can do like curving things like that. But I mean, the cool ones the fast ones look cool, but they're also kind of hard to do. I mean, unless you got used to it, you see. So one strategy is to put the cursor right behind the ball you're targeting, and then just do a direct punch at it, and that'll send it in the direction you want. But you could also just like put it on a target, like an objective that you want to hit, and you know that no matter what, that the arrows will push the ball in that direction. Now, then it's just a matter of making sure you hit that ball. So it's a two-handed combat mechanic, and it's a bit harder to hit balls on my left because I can't swing as naturally that way. That you can see there. So the reason I've got these extra balls floating around is I thought about because now I can curve my attack like that, and that would look really cool, but there's no like, they're just arrows, and that's just creating a channel. Now what I want to do is then create the balls that will follow the channel, so that it feels like water bending or fire bending. And so I think this is a fairly natural way to do it. It's not perfect yet, or it takes practice. Well, in a sport scenario, something that takes practice isn't that bad, really. So it's hard to hit the ones on the left because I'm not sure why. Why is it hard to hit ones on the left? Can I hit on the right? It's because I'm throwing too far sideways. What it does is that the midpoint, see, I'll explain how it works right now, is so that I'm using a bezier curve, and when I start to trigger, if I get my velocity over a certain point, it will then capture the start point. Not this, actually, that might be a problem. It should be the point where it reaches the threshold. I think it is, where it goes over the velocity threshold. That's the first point on the Bezier curve. And then the, what is it? The release point, which is either a manual release or auto release based on distance. Because if you just do a really big swipe, like forget about this hand for a second. If I just do a really big swipe and hold down the trigger, it will release because I've gone so far already. And that means that you can also manually release, but I don't. It just makes it easier. You can see that my scoreboard is working. That's cool, and it shows up in front of blocks. So I need to practice. I need to get a bigger play space, I think, to get a better idea of how it feels, because I've been hitting walls and I've damaged my controller today the first time. That's VR dev, eh? So let's see, if I want to target a ball, can I hit it? Let's go that one. Yeah, but I didn't go the right way. That one I got. This one, how can I do it, is put that cursor there, and then, oh, I missed it.
I guess there's a design fault here in that you could accidentally punch your own hand. Because it casts from the shoulder though. That should only happen if I'm targeting the side that my hand is on, which is annoying. Okay, so there's some problems here, but it's pretty cool. It's got potential. I'm leading my design by experimentation at the moment. Okay, so I am all my development right now. There's no clear design. I'm letting the feel of the mechanic and the scenario that it is in. That is, there's a player, there's a goal, there's balls, and moving the balls is the interesting thing. So that's day 2 and 3. Thanks for watching. See ya.